How's it,
Thank you,
everyone?
Moneypenny. Sorry. Sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. How's it, everyone? Wayne Yanone here, and welcome to Geeking Out, where we basically discuss everything near geek related. I'm joined here by Brian, Ryan, and Alex for another episode of Was It Worth Making? And we are going to be talking about the 2002 Spider-Man film directed by Sam Raimi, which, in my opinion, is probably my all-time favorite. It's how I got it. It's how I got more into Spider-Man after watching the animated series as a kid, way back in the 90s. So, without further ado, I'll start with Brian. How did you first come out to find about the Spider-Man 2002 film?
Oh, magazines, the infant internet, word of mouth, everything. And actually, I want to say one of the first indications was in Fangoria in reference to Sam jumping ship, going from horror films to sci-fi. And then prior to that, it was probably a Fantasone magazine where they were talking about the failed attempt by James Cameron.
Wait, James Cameron wanted to make a Spider-Man film?
Where do you think the organic web shooters came from? That was James Cameron.
I heard some of the. I think you mentioned that in the Nerd Fact Friday podcast.
Yeah, so his script had been that close to being made, and then it kind of disappeared, and the next thing you know, everything shifted hands, and then it was like Raimi's going forward, which was a mind blower at the time because that's the Army of Darkness guy. What the hell? He's doing horror films.
That's Darkman.
Yeah. Oh God, that's another one. We got to do that one at some point. Wayne, Darkman's fantastic. Or I'll go. You and the nerd culture, dude. We'll do that. That's a fantastic film. Love that. Saw that in the theater. So anyway, yeah, it was just all over the place because of at the time the advancement of comic movies. So it was literally pick your source, and it was out there. But I want to say it was just right off reading the magazines, going what, and Entertainment Weekly, and everybody else was doing pieces.
Nice.
Yeah. Everywhere.
Alex, how did you find out about the Spider-Man 2002 film?
If I told you I could remember, I would be lying. This is probably my first superhero movie. I was born in 91, and this is it was just when I started to pay attention to this sort of thing, and this came out, and it was like, whoa, superheroes. Am I right?
I mean, for the early 2000s, I mean, this was like
that was when the boom happened.
I mean, we just had X-Men 2 years prior, so the early 2000 superhero films were like started becoming a thing.
Yeah, and the correct demographic for that period for this type of film too, because it wasn't overly dark like Blade. It wasn't, a team that you might not have ever heard of. Everybody knows who the hell Spider-Man is. So yeah, what a perfect one to be introduced to for you. That's great.
Yeah. And like being 11 years old and going into the theater and seeing like it's so colorful and it's so dynamic, and the way it's built up, I completely understood all of the emotions that I was supposed to have with this. So it made complete sense to me.
I mean, I got to give credit to Sam Raimi for wanting to, base the suit, try to base the Spider-Man suit off of, Stan Lee's original concept back from the 60s. I think Spider-Man was introduced in Fantastic Four?
No, Amazing Fantasy.
Amazing Fantasy. Okay.
I can go get the cover if you want.
That's entirely up to you.
Yeah.
He literally has everything.
Oh no,
idea.
He's always prepared for these. Ryan, how did you first come to find out about the 2002 Spider-Man film?
I would say it was kind of similar to you. I grew up on the 94 animated series on Fox Kids as a kid because I'm a 90s kid through and through, and the 90s are the greatest decade of all time. No offense to those of us who grew up before or after that, whatever. But the 90s are great. They're more phenomenal. If you know what that is from, you'll know what I'm talking about from the 90s. So I grew up on Spider-Man 94, and then when I heard the movie was coming out, I remember sitting in the theater with my aunt at the time, and we saw this trailer for this movie, and it was called Spider-Man. I'm like, oh my God, they're bringing my animated series to life. This is huge. That first trailer, that like 2.5 minute trailer, whatever it was so awesome, so amazing, pun intended.
Yeah.
And I thought, you're taking an animated show that I watched as a kid, and you're translating into live action. Oh, this is getting serious. This is getting real. I never thought this would happen, but it did. And that's how I found out about it. And I saw it in the theater opening, I think it was like opening weekend or something like that. And Mine was blown. The fans were going nuts. My mind was exploding from ear to ear because we were having a lot of nerdgasms that day. Let's be honest. So it was great to see something that you see in animated form come to life on a big screen in live action. And Sam Raimi and his cast and crew did a phenomenal job with this first installment. I got to give credit where credit is due.
Oh yeah, no, I mean before that, technically the very first live action Spider-Man was done in Japan back in the 70s.
Yeah, we don't remember that. No, I wasn't there. I don't remember that. I wasn't there for that. Alex and I weren't there, so it doesn't matter.
I mean, for anyone who's watching, the very first live action Spider-Man, I can't remember the full name, but it was a live action Spider-Man in Japan made in the 70s.
Yeah, Spider-Man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is,
there you go.
Which is
because he did all that stuff and called the giant robots and all that stuff. Yeah.
Which is potentially going to be hinted to be, he may make an appearance in the Into the Spider-Verse Part 1 sequel.
Ooh,
which is, it's a rumor, but yeah, no.
That'd be cool.
I mean,
rumors are rumors until it actually happens.
Right. So I mean, so before we get into the main plot, what were your thoughts? And I'll start with Alec. What were your thoughts when you saw Tobey Maguire, who at the time was in his early 20s, playing as a teenager for Peter Parker?
It made complete sense as an 11-year-old. Like, yeah, this guy's a teenager.
I mean,
he's a 35-year-old dude playing a 15-year-old.
He was like 20. He was like 25, 23, because the out of the main characters, Kirsten Dunst was,
I think she was the youngest.
She was 18, so she was probably the age as a teenager. Everyone else
was like pushing 30.
Like where everyone's like the teenage cast was like in their mid-20s.
Yeah, aren't you a little old for this school or whatever? It doesn't matter. Listen,
it worked for Starship Troopers, man. Everybody in there was like 27 up, so
it's true.
Just
Brian's right.
Yeah, I mean,
I will say that the big shock to me came when Tobey Maguire was in Seabiscuit not too long after.
Yeah.
That was the big, like, hang on.
As the jock.
Hang on.
Yeah.
He's not a teenager.
Because he was swearing and drinking.
And he was blind in one eye, as his character was in Seabiscuit. In Seabiscuit, he was blind in one eye.
I mean, he was in his early
Cider House Rules and a bunch of other stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Cider House Rules with, I believe, Charlize Theron at the time too. Which is crazy. Crazy.
Brian, what were your Brian, what were your thoughts when you knew someone like Tobey Maguire was playing as a high schooler, which I want to say he was a sophomore, senior?
They're kind of loose with that in this particular film, so I'm not 100% sure. Real quick before I answer that, though, just to touch on what Alex and Ryan were saying, as a testament to the character, that their early and only introduction to him was the animated series, and they got that jazzed over the movie. Never mind, literally like 60 years plus. This is the omnibus, by the way, of the comics run. That's all this is. It's just every comic print.
Do you just keep that on your desk, or did you pull it out?
I get a copy of that, Brian.
It was up on top of my statues.
Let's just say, Alex, Brian's always prepared for these things.
Jeez, man, he's like Uncle Scar on steroids. Be prepared.
Yeah. So anyway, like I said, testament to the character, testament to the popularity, all that kind of stuff that you guys got that excited over one of, quote unquote, the lesser introductions of the character or iterations of it. And I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying that it wasn't necessarily the strongest at that time, in comparison to what was available. So awesome. Like I said, just Spidey rules across the board, and improvable. So anyway, as far as Tobey doing that, given his limited library of work prior, it was his look. And I will go on record as always saying that he's been one of the better Peter Parkers, just maybe not the greatest Spider-Man. And that's because it just never quite hit it with the way the confidence level build up and the jokiness was in the comics. But I really had no problem with it. It was kind of a surprise. But then again, they've never done age-appropriate characterizations for him from the 70s American series, even on the Electric Company. Oh my God, I'm old. None of that stuff. They've never done an age appropriate. They've always kind of mixed it between college age with a high school look, or they've done it a high school age with a college look. You can never really nail it down. So it's fine. Looked great. I had no problems with it, and the performance speaks for itself.
I mean, Toby did a really good job
Mhm.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, I was
Absolutely.
like, I think this film came out in like 2002, so I was like, what, like 8 or so. Oh, 8. No, I was
God, I'm
I
so
take that back. I was 9, 8, 9 when I saw this
Oof.
film on, and I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it on when it came out on DVD. No,
DVD.
VHS.
Oh, VHS. Yeah, VHS is still a thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no,
Oh
yeah,
yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, but I remember watching it as a kid, and
I got a bookshelf full of them.
I loved it. I mean, granted, at the time, William Dafoe was a Green Goblin, scared the shit out of me,
Woo.
and that,
Yeah.
and that's without finding
That's a testament to the actor.
and that's
Mhm.
without finding his suit. What they changed the suit, they were going to go with more based
Ugh.
off the Green Goblin from the animated series, with like how he has like actual face and the pointed ears and the hat and
Have you
everything.
seen
Norman
the test
Osborn,
footage?
it's the Green Goblin.
Because if
Yeah,
I'm
that
not
voice.
mistaken, I mean Brian should probably is known as
Have you
Green
seen the
Goblin.
test footage?
Yeah, William Dafoe's Green Goblin was supposed to be a different suit, actual goblin-looking face and
Oh,
yellow eyes.
animatronic, everything. It was
Oh,
beautiful.
really?
But
Wow.
it was deemed too scary or something.
I didn't know that.
Oh, it was creepy.
So that's
looking.
why he's wearing that robotic Power Ranger.
You're wearing that
looking
Power
suit.
Ranger mask.
Exactly.
Oh well, the other end of that though too, as the power. Since you mentioned Power Rangers, it's very toyetic. That was it. That's all it comes down to. That's the only
Yeah,
reason for this.
yeah. See that shirt right there? I got my lightning bolts in my Red Ranger helmet. Yeah. Get prepared for this, baby. I'm a
Yeah.
90s kid. I'm a 90s kid at heart.
Since
It's
we're
not gonna
talking about
stop.
the characters and all, yeah, no, William Dafoe. I mean, not to mention the
Willem.
fact Willem Dafoe. Thank you.
Yeah, Willem was
Willem.
creepy, bro. He was creepy.
I mean, he had
Oh, yeah.
to not only play as Norman Osborn, but when he does like the mirror or the Mask of Stockton, that's William Dafoe just being Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a creepy dude. He's got those
Oh.
sharp cheeks.
Go back and watch not True Romance. Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank now. It was Nicolas Cage, Laura Dern, Wild at Heart. It's a David Lynch film. Willem Dafoe's character in that will creep you the hell out. You know, the guy
Really?
puts 120% into everything.
And he does look exactly like how Norman Osborn looked in the
Works.
comics.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from the weird striped, curved hair.
Doesn't matter. The casting was spot on for this.
Oh no, it
just
was
worked.
from Aunt May to
Aunt
Harry
May.
to Uncle Ben, which
MJ with red hair. Never thought that I'd ever see a day where Kirsten Dunst had red hair, but I'm like,
which
fine, young lady.
I said we'll talk about later on. But
Yeah, spoilers. Yeah.
Alex, who would you say who is your favorite character in this movie?
Oh man.
Be careful what you say, Alex. Be careful.
Yeah, I know. So I would say now that I enjoy the Osborn Goblin most, but when it came out, it was definitely Peter Parker.
Sounds about right.
It's unanimous. We can go home.
Ryan, who is your favorite character at the time? I guess now, since Alex was saying then and now, who is your favorite character at the time in this movie, and then who's your favorite character now?
Oh man, probably. You know what? Let's just be what's the name? What's the terminology? Captain Obvious. Peter Parker then, Peter Parker now. Because if the main central character doesn't work, the film falls apart very easily. If the main character isn't relatable, if the main character can't make you feel something, dig something that he's doing, hate something that he's doing, like you're on this character journey with him. If you can't feel for this kid, then you're not going to get the movie. You're just not going to get it. So Peter was my favorite then. He's my favorite now. I mean, granted, the teenage, like the really young version of Ryan, when he came out of the theater, granted, one of the things I was thinking about was how beautiful Kirsten Dunst was with red hair.
I mean,
and the upside the upside down kiss.
Kissing,
and the upside down kiss.
Yeah. Okay,
like, dude, I wanted to be Peter Parker in that moment so badly. It's like, dude, if I'm gonna have my first kiss, woo, that is
it's gotta be
done.
hanging upside down in the rain. Kirsten Dunst with a
wet t-shirt. Oh yeah, all of it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
and she's like, do I get to say thank you this time? And she just peels off your mask, be like, yo, let's make out in the middle of this alley. Let's do it.
Man, being hung upside down in that scene with the rain and just all
Dude,
the
it
blood
was
rushing
so
to his
rough
head.
on Toby. That was rough for him.
Oh, that wasn't a
rough.
stunt. That was actually Toby.
Yeah, it's done.
Oh, geez.
That's called commitment to acting, ladies and gentlemen. That is commitment.
That's Brian, who was your favorite character then, and who is your favorite character now?
Well, then it would be Peter Parker / Spider-Man. because you get to see him on the big screen. All that stuff was great. And now, you know, in all fairness, I've been thinking about it since you guys were talking. I'd have to say Macy Gray in The Parade because, you know, she needs some love, man.
I was hoping someone would mention her. Like, that was actually going through my head was, if you weren't gonna say it, I was gonna say it. But yeah, Macy Gray during the parade and everything. Yeah, no.
Yeah, poor Macy. She just kind of, you know, disappeared and everything. You know, in all honesty, it'd probably still stay the same. Although, out of respect for Willem's performance, especially after No Way Home and stuff, to see that guy can still do it. I mean, they're both
20 years later. Yeah, no,
which is crazy. And yeah.
Realistically, they're both on equal footing for different reasons. So I would say then it was Peter Parker and Harry. Norman, and now it's still Peter Parker and Norman. You know, because both of them just killed it, and they proved that they still can. So, this movie speaks for itself in a lot of ways.
20 years later, J.K. Simmons is still playing J. Jonah Jameson, so there's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, minus the hair and the
he's got a bit of a receding hairline going on
the guy's 275
and his iconic mustache.
Mm-hmm.
God,
I mean, in the last 20 years, he has carried the genetic line of airbenders. So,
he
a lot of pressure.
He did voice. I mean, yeah, he did. Fair enough. He did voice Tenzin and Legends of Korra.
J.K. Simmons.
I mean, the guy was also Commissioner Gordon. He's like,
what lack there was of the time at the DC Cinematic Universe, he was also Commissioner Gordon. I thought he was good in that role too, even though it was minimal and there were a lot of behind the scenes.
He played as a supporting character for a hero twice.
Which proves that that's how good he is as an actor.
You know, I mean, and I remember
universes.
Yeah, and he does he does the farmers insurance commercials too. So we are farmers.
Oh yeah, no,
he's
like
so
I said,
good at it.
He's done a lot of roles over the years.
You want to watch him as a complete opposite of what you may have ever seen. Watch
Whiplash.
Oz. No, Oz.
Yeah. Okay.
The prison show.
Wow.
He played a neo-Nazi in there.
That's where Mariska and Chris Meloni came from. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, he's
crazy.
A horrible freaking person in that, but just a testament to the strength of this cast.
Speaking of New York, SVU turns like what, 23, 24 years this year? It's crazy that show is still going. SVU is still going.
It's crazy. I guess me back then, I would have to say Peter Parker. Now it's a toss up between Aunt May and Uncle Ben because the lady who played as Aunt May,
Rosemary Harris.
Yes, like she was like what? She was like
role.
What, 70 in that film?
Yeah. Yeah, doesn't matter.
60s at the least.
Dude, she killed it in that role. Though. She was perfect. Like she jumped right out of the animated series of the comics.
Oh no, yeah, no. Like again, Sam Raimi, you can tell he did like his research on. He was trying to make every.
Big time.
He was trying to make almost every character, you know, from Peter to Aunt May, Uncle Ben, like trying to make
Uncle Ben was great too.
He was trying to make all of the characters like pulled out of the comics, and of course he had to bring.
This is one of the. Oh, I was gonna say this is one of the rare occasions, though. Sorry, Wade, that they let a creative that was a fan be creative as a fan, with
especially for pre MCU stuff. I mean, we wouldn't see more character accurate characters until Iron Man and all the others.
I'm just saying, when you let people that know their stuff, that are fans, be creative with it alone, this is what you get. And by the time we get to, like we talked about X3 last week and the third one and this one, when they see dollar signs, it's blood in the water for sharks, and then it just goes to shit. That's why these guys walk away. So this is a perfect example. Yeah, Sam, I had a whole wall in his bedroom as a kid. His mother commissioned as a Spider-Man print. It was. Wow. I think it might, something like that, or him coming down the web or something like that. So this is a fan that made a movie that he'd always been wanting to do as a kid. And the end result speaks for itself. When you get somebody, you mentioned Darkman. That's a comic book movie of a character that doesn't exist. He created that, and it's like the most comic book movie you've ever heard of. Oh yeah, take the fucking elephant. Yeah, exactly. It's a great movie. Yeah. Oh, Robert, what is wrong with you? Yeah, all that stuff. I love that movie.
I mean,
but anyway, creative with the fan, with the subject that he loves, let loose. This is what we get. And that just speaks to that too. Sam. And so with that, he's going to find a guy that can be and looks like Peter. He's going to look for somebody who can be and looks like Aunt May across the board. Everybody's going to, look the part as much as they possibly can because it's being made by a fan that has basically free reign to do it.
I mean,
It's awesome.
The budget for this movie was 139 million, and its box office was 825 million.
Yeah.
So like 700 million more than
that
what-
made all the monies.
And
all
that's
the monies.
mid 9/11 too. Think about that and how many problems that caused.
Oh
'Cause
yeah,
that
no.
changed with reshoots, posters.
They had to do reshoots.
I mean,
Yep,
and we
the
were
posters,
technically
the
first.
trailers changed.
I mean, we were first technically introduced to Spider-Man in a X-Men 1 blooper.
Wait. I am completely in the wrong movie. I am so sorry.
Oh man, that was so funny too.
Yeah, if
Did you guys-
whoever
did you see that, Alex? Did you see that blooper?
You know, I'm not sure if I did.
It's on YouTube. It's on
yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah,
It's
All right.
great. It's hilarious.
it's during the Ellis
It's
Island
during the Statue of Liberty scene
eh,
where they're on Liberty Island and stuff,
then
and they're like
Spider-Man
trying to
just-
hunt down the Brotherhood of Mutants, and then this guy just shows up randomly
in the Sam
in a
Raimi
Spider-Man costume.
suit.
He's like, "I'm so sorry. I'm completely in the wrong movie. I'm so sorry."
It's
Just
hilarious. I
watch
mean,
it.
and I think I'm not sure if that was supposed to be. I think that was at the time when they were working on Spider-Man.
They may have been toying with it too, because it's like if you had Spider-Man show up in an X-Men movie, even though they couldn't do it because of the rights issues at the time, I was like, dude,
I mean-
that still would have made even more money.
I mean,
Would have even made more money.
Spider-Man is done by Sony and Columbia, and then X-Men was
Yeah,
done
and
by
then
Fox.
X-Men at the time was owned by Fox.
Fox,
Yeah,
and now.
Oh, that gets really sticky.
and
in
that's
that
get
time
complicated
period.
too.
Oh yeah,
Like a
no.
web.
Horribly so.
Yeah.
Jeez. So I guess kind of going on to the plot now. I mean, when we're first introduced to Peter Parker, he is the nerdy, geeky, glass-wearing kid who just gets
He
picked
has the
on by.
hots for some girl, and she doesn't care. You
With
know?
a
Yeah.
great voiceover too. That sets the stage.
Oh,
across
the
board.
narration.
yeah,
And it's-
no.
and the narration is featured in the trailer. That's also ends up in the final cut, which is great because sometimes in trailers these days, what you
Mm.
see in the trailer doesn't end up in the final
Suicide
cut.
Squad.
You want to know? The story of my life is not for the faint of heart. If somebody said it was a happy little tale, if somebody told you I was just your average, ordinary guy, not a care in the world, somebody lied.
Rogue
Sorry.
One.
Thank
They've
you.
been doing that for like
A long time.
Forever.
It's just.
I think
with-
longer than Alex and I have been alive. Yeah.
You know why some of that is though? Weird Science and a bunch of other films.
Weird
from the late 80s.
Science.
But what I was gonna say, they do that kind of stuff for
Yeah.
the trailers, and so they have a TV edit.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, that's
what a lot of it is,
right,
because you gotta
right,
fill
I've
those
seen.
gaps.
I have seen the edited cuts. I've seen.
Yeah.
it.
So you gotta edit
right.
the good stuff that we all love and
Mhm.
insert these banal, asinine scenes or something like the Devo nerd scene in Weird Science, completely
Yeah.
cut out of the theatrical
Mhm.
release, but inserted
It's
for
done.
TV. And that's why it is amazing and spectacular and all that stuff that they made the trailers a relatable part of the movie, which can be a detriment though if you give away all the good stuff in the trailer, which happens a lot too.
mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's a fine line to walk, I think, especially with something as epic as this. If you give away too much stuff in there, it's like
Trailers give away too much these days. That's why I hate trailers.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I'm not a big fan
Must-
of them.
Yeah, no, I.
We could do a whole video essay on how that's messed up.
That's,
But this was an exception, and
No,
the
I mean-
narration still held up, even if you know what it is.
it's again, it's a really good movie. But like I said, we're introduced to Peter Parker. He has the thing for MJ. His one and only best friend is Harry Osborn, played by one James Franco. Which at the time, I think James Franco was.
Spoiled rich kid.
I mean, at the time, at the time, Franco was like in his early, like a year or two older than Kirsten Dunst was. So
Mhm.
if you were in your 20s but you look like a teenager, it worked.
Yeah, they
Sure.
do it all the time. They did it on
Yeah.
Smallville.
They did a 90210.
Oh yeah,
They do
no.
it
Yeah,
like on the CW 24/7.
Oh yeah,
It's all-
no, it's
Ooh,
it's-
Alex, why'd you have to bring up the CW?
It's-
Oh,
No, I'm
that's
kidding,
for
I'm
another
kidding.
you're the one that
time.
brought up Smallville.
How do I get out of this fucking
But-
meeting?
but at
No,
the-
I'm
at the
kidding.
ti- at the ti-
Listen,
at the-
I watched a lot of seasons of Smallville on the CW. I know what it's like.
Yeah,
Trust me.
No,
But I
it's
mean-
fine.
And I love Smallville. Just a quick side note: I am a Smallville fan and always have and
Nothing.
always will be.
Nothing wrong with that. But no, like I said, at the time for the early 2000s, it was cheaper to hire someone in their 20s to play as a teenager than hire an
Mhm.
actual teenager because they had school or their parents said no or just
We're
some kind of
in
legal
college.
Yeah,
but issue
but you
reason.
know, the only one that didn't work really, and especially when he ended up looking like 2-3 years later, was Magliano, or however you say his name. You know,
Joe
Flash.
Manganiello.
Yeah,
Joe Magliano, who played
Yeah.
as Flash Thompson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Joe Manganiello,
He-
which is crazy.
He was just a little too close to that college age. Because you guys freaking jacked as shit too. Even then, he just looked
My
a little
fist
too
breaking
older.
your teeth. That's the accident. I want to fight you, Flash. I wouldn't want to fight
Yeah.
me neither.
Yeah, the rest of them, like Wayne was saying, you know, if they look high school age, you can get away with it.
I mean,
If you look the
so,
part,
so,
you're gonna
so
get
John,
cast.
John
He was a little too old.
Joe was
looking, I
like,
think.
he was
Only
20.
one that stood out.
So he was 26. So he was almost like he was
Yeah,
in his
he
late.
was
He was
way
he was in-
older,
He was
way
in his late.
older.
He was in his late 20s out of the main cast.
Yeah, bro.
He was like the oldest, but it worked at the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
But yeah,
And
no,
he's
we-
only in it for a short time, so it's
Yeah.
not going to take the attention away from.
Oh
the
no,
No,
And,
I'm
like,
just saying,
he's-
out of all of them,
he's
the only one
supposed
that-
to be a jock, and he's supposed to be like the
The
guy.
bully of the
He's-
Oh,
he-
sure.
Like he didn't. He's not playing a character that's a what you might call a late bloomer.
Mhm, mhm.
Like he
No,
he grew
came
up
out of the womb
quick,
that
and then
big.
he established himself.
And then look how much his career has exploded with Joe
Oh, yeah.
Manganiello. My gosh, the guy's done like what 50 million things since that.
Yeah.
It's
And he
ridiculous.
would also later go on and play another comic book villain, Slade Wilson.
That's
Well,
that's
and the
right.
latest scene of that Justice League act, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
Which,
so
yeah.
But his
Like
best role to date has to be on Pee Wee's newest movie. Sorry, as
Pee Wee's
best
Big
friend.
Holiday.
Yeah.
oh god.
Wayne's like, what are we doing here? Why am I still here?
But like I said,
Alex,
out of all-
by the way, Wayne, Alex put a note in the chat. I don't know if you saw that though.
What was it? Let me see. Let me take a look here.
Yeah, all I'm saying, and Alex, you're absolutely right about him being the big jock, the biggest and the strongest and all that. I'm just saying that of all
Oh,
of
yeah.
those,
Yeah, well, we can.
approximates-
Let's pause real quick.
Oh.
So,
Alex, you look
the one,
fantastic.
So the one thing I want to ask,
yes, yeah, wear pants.
either Ryan or Ryan can introduce. Were in the comics, was Mary Jane Watson and Flash Thompson, were they ever a thing in the comics? Because I know they
Ryan
were.
would know
I know-
more about this than I would.
there was a rivalry, but see, there were so many female characters and stuff introduced early on.
Betty
That were
Brant,
always kind of secondary.
There was Felicia Hardy.
Felicia Hardy,
But I'm trying to think if initially.
Gwen Stacy.
Let me refer to the omnibus because I don't remember that.
Yeah, let me
Oh
look
my
at my
gosh,
textbook
Brian
here.
doesn't
I
remember
mean,
something.
They even
Well,
like
you know,
because in the
so
movie
many of those.
it's a
You've
it's
got
like
the Amazing, you got the Web of, you've got the Spider-Man runs, you've got all these-
spectacular.
yeah, all these redos and stuff. I want to say at one point there was a rivalry between the two of them, but he was more interested in himself initially, like in the first run of the comics. But once they exploded, because they got married eventually early on and stuff where nobody else was in the way, and then there was the other stuff with Felicia that she was in their way. So I honestly don't remember, but I'm going to have to look that up. But I don't think it was anything like what they're intimating in this film. But I'm sure somewhere in one of the many volumes that there probably was. It doesn't come to mind off the top of my head, which is weird because I should remember that shit.
I'm very
I mean-
disappointed in you.
I
I'm
am
just-
too.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
going to refer to my notes.
Let me refer to my textbook on page 365. By the way,
Actually-
Brian, is that omnibus available on Amazon?
Probably. I picked it up at my local comic book store.
Okay.
Hey, that's the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say we should hashtag support your local comic shops, but if I can't find it there, I'm definitely gonna get it on Amazon.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
you might be able to order it through your local bookstore.
That
It's-
too. See, Alex is just full of suggestions. I love
Oh yeah,
this.
no, this is
And
no.
finger guns.
And
Oh.
by the way, this is not Alex's first time coming on for Geeking Out for a review. First time was when we tried to do our review on the Castlevania anime series.
No, I think the one that I started with was the Mortal Kombat trailer.
Whoa,
Did we even do that?
maybe not.
I don't know if it aired.
No, it never did. No,
It
it
was
never did.
uncensored.
No, it,
It was not safe for
It's what the
children.
man
viewers.
does.
Oh boy. But yeah, so we're like I said, we're introduced, and they're going to this. Was it Oscorp lab? I think it was.
Mhm.
And it's like where Peter Parker takes pictures of May, not May, MJ.
Who?
Yeah,
Who knows?
Peter Parker's taking pictures of his aunt somewhere. Anyway, we're introduced to characters like Harry Osborn, Norman Osborn, which I think Norman gives the best line. I'm somewhat of a scientist myself.
I'm something of a scientist myself.
Which I think
and
is like his smile and his grin and everything.
Well, I read all your research on nanotechnology. Really brilliant, and you understood it. Yes, I wrote a paper on it. Impressive. Your parents must be pretty proud of it. I live with my aunt and uncle, and they are proud of it. If you want to keep quoting Wayne, I can quote this baby all night.
Oh yeah, no, there's gonna be.
But I was just gonna say, with his performance there, being genuinely surprised and impressed at Peter being able to understand that, that performance pulls through, and then you get that sense of resentment from Harry right behind there.
Yep.
And there's that distance going, and it was in an expression. He didn't say shit. It was just that expression, and it worked. But there we go back to the testament of the solid casting. But yeah, that whole interchange right there, because the other weird thing is though too, if Harry and Peter have been friends for so long, how the hell was that the first time he'd ever met Norman though? That is always kind of bugged me.
I don't know, probably because Harry's embarrassed of his father and how he does, how you could see throughout the entire movie, Norman could give a shit about his son. Like you can tell, like there's like that,
True,
I don't like you, and I know you rather have Peter as a son instead of me, kind of.
And
mentality.
like Harry doesn't even want people to like know about his dad. Like he doesn't want to show up in front of things for the field trip.
But Peter knew who his dad was and wrote a paper on his stuff.
Well, yeah, he knew, but like that's best friend stuff. Harry probably wasn't advertising it around the school.
Fair enough. I just like always ask, man, he should have already known who this cat was. I mean, it'd be like being best friends with the owner, son of Wizards of the Coast or TSR, or like Gary Gygax got invented D&D's, like being friends with his kid and then never getting introduced till like 10 years later or something. It was just kind of an odd little thing for me, but nitpicky, just kind of odd, because it does set up their relationship a little bit differently later on, that I would have thought would have been better established if they had kind of grown up together, and here Norman had always been around. That's where that whole father to you thing, because we kind of get that a little faster than if we had with them having grown up, like, hey, I've been around since your parents died. Harry was there for you. You were the only one that was really friends with him because of our situation, blah, blah, blah. So it was just an odd setup. That's all. I mean, like I said,
that was kind of odd. But you did also mention, I can't remember who mentioned it earlier, that they were a little wishy-washy on the timeline. So between when they met Norman and when that father to you line was delivered, there might have been more time in there than they let on.
Fair enough, but there wasn't that much personal interaction where he would have been that father to him as if he had been when they were younger. Like I said, it's never really bothered me to where like, oh god damn it, I'm stopping this movie and not watching it. But it's just one of those character development things that probably would have helped right there. And then given the nature of this film and their relationship and the separation between Harry and Peter would have been that much stronger too. I've always felt that.
Well, as we all know, a single plot hole ruins an entire movie and makes it completely unwatchable.
Yeah.
That was actually that was discussed in X3 a lot. Again, in November you'll see. So again, hard. The science lab scene, yada yada yada, taking pictures, and then next thing they find out that this one particular spider is missing. Was that spider, someone can answer me this because they probably have a better knowledge of it. Was that spider real or was that spider CGI?
Real spider, hand painted.
Wait, they actually grabbed like, hey, let's find a random. Was that like what, a black widow
type of spider? I think it was a Delana, if I'm not mistaken, or something.
Jeez, that must have been one calm spider then, if they were able to paint it red and blue.
There's a bunch of Wranglers on set. There's a great extras.
Did they paint the spider itself, or did they paint it in post?
No, it was hand painted on set. There's a great set of extras on the 2-disc set that goes over all that kind of stuff.
If you want to know more about this movie, just get it on DVD or Blu-ray today.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know
some
that.
of the stuff was CGI, obviously, but the actual physical spider, was painted with some kind of like food dye or some shit like that. So somebody actually had like painted a miniature.
I imagine they had a lot of spiders then too, because
Oh, I'm sure. What is it? Since we're at that, what is everybody's thought on it being genetically altered as opposed to being radioactive or some weird shit that would have killed you instantly if it had actually happened? I thought it was a great direction to go, and
it was genetically altered. It wasn't radioactive.
Yeah,
it was
a culmination of.
Oh, that's right. I remember.
It was the three spiders.
I remember the super spiders or something. That one lady was saying.
Yep. It's what the lady says. These 15 genetically designed super spiders. There's 14. I beg your pardon. One's missing. Oh, I think the scientists are still working on that one. Like I said, I can quote this thing like a month.
The thing escaped.
Yes.
And then the fact that it went after Peter specifically, though, I mean, it didn't bother going after any other. It just like specifically landed on.
Depending on the lore, there's reasons for it, and if not, dude, the movie has to.
It's called Spider-Man logic, Wayne. Just go with it. It's Spider-Man logic.
Yeah, if you're gonna go that route, dude, it has never been explained until this movie how he stuck to shit. By the way, it's always just magic. So,
and speaking of special effects, I think the makeup department did a really good job making the spider bite on Peter's hand.
Oh yeah. And I mean, the actual CGI, and it's that was early CGI.
And that's really what an actual spider bite can look like too. So they definitely they did the research on all this stuff, which not a whole lot of movies do, especially superhero movies. But like adding that little bit of reality,
you're also talking about a horror director too.
Oh yeah, no, I mean the guy directed Army of Darkness, the first two. A bunch of other movies too.
Well, Thou Shalt Not.
This is my boomstick.
Horror does is
and this definitely movie did have
effects makeup.
This movie definitely did have a horror aspect. I mean, look at the scene. Like I think 5 minutes later, we're introduced to Norman Osborn being berated by his superiors, saying about the hang glider, about this
formula,
about this.
Dr. Osborn.
You know what I sacrificed for this company?
Yeah. So
that happens later in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's all later.
Jeez. But yeah, no. But that scene itself, where Peter.
Who is it?
Yeah. Wayne, what's your line? What is Wayne's line again? Do we have his notes in front of him? Hey, Brian, can you consult your omnibus?
What, you can't quote it, Ryan?
Oh, yeah,
Page 167, Wayne Rose is supposed to say this.
I've already seen the glider. That's not why I'm here for it. Dr. Slocum, good to see you again. Mr. Balcom, Mr. Fargus, Roman, Mr. Osborn. Always good to have our board of directors pay us a little visit. I want to see the progress report on human performance enhancers.
That's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Wayne. This is why they call me Ryan the Quote for a reason, because I can quote better than anyone.
I know he's like some kind of general. Was he that guy was that added in for the movie, or is there someone like him ever in the comics?
Who?
The guy who basically berates and likes to bully Norman Osborn.
Well,
you mean general?
Yeah.
He's just a generic military guy.
Okay, so he wasn't ever.
Dr. Strom was a side character.
Yeah.
Who was now? What was he like in the comics? Dr. Strom.
Pretty much exactly that. Just Norman, power-hungry egomaniac, and all that.
No, Dr. Strom, was he?
Just a nerd, freaking lab assistant, man. That's it.
Okay, so he wasn't. So he's not really important. He's just someone who gets
just there.
Hence the reason why he dies later on. Spoilers. Yeah. We need to take the whole line. Wayne, we need to take this whole line back to formula. Back to formula.
I'm really disappointed that you would spoil this movie for me.
I'm sorry, Alex. Jeez.
You should be.
And speaking of the formula, I think it was like green, I believe it was.
Yeah,
some green formula, and it was like it was like a gel or from?
It was like a super serum. It was a super serum.
Oh yeah,
they were doing it in a chloroesterase gas kind of thing to have him breathe it in.
Oh yeah,
yeah, it was an airborne.
Yeah, it was an airborne formula.
He was in that machine, and Strom was like,
Well, he was in the chamber.
It was. He said, I just looking at it at a fictional standpoint. Norman was basically like, screw, at the test trials. Let's just go straight to human trials, and who better to test it on than myself, kind of thing.
Oh yeah, which always ends well in the comic universes.
The vastness of human potential.
Oh yeah, he drinks that little thing, and then he basically just takes his shirt, button his shirt, and then does the thing, and then
shows how ripped he is.
Oh yeah, he was like in his 40s.
And that little ad-lib line, which I don't know if you know was ad-lib or not, when the binders went on him, he's like, "Oh, it's cold." That was ad-lib. That was actually his reaction.
Well, I mean, yeah, guys, he was bare
That's great.
chested and he was put against a piece of like a metallic machine.
No, it's just awesome.
Yeah, it was.
They
And then-
use it as a final take, man. It's awesome.
I mean, and all that was practical from the smoke and everything, and then you know,
CGI enhanced on some.
oh yeah, but I think
I just think
one part of that scene that sticks to me with this day is when Norman is convulsing and his eyes are like in the back of his head and everything, and
Mhm.
Strom's just like freaking
Like the
out.
Undertaker. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
He does that a couple times in this movie. He uses the eyes rolling thing, and
Yeah.
not everyone can do that, but he does it. He does it a couple times when he's coming back from
And the
Goblin
teeth,
as well.
if you guys never noticed, Willem Dafoe's teeth are normal, or his normal teeth when he's Norman, and they're straight and all that shit. In the Goblin, they did it again in No Way Home. He had those dentures put in,
oh yeah,
so that his personality changed and everything.
yeah, oh yeah.
drastically.
For anyone who
Yeah.
knows, for anyone who looks at pictures of Willem Dafoe, yes, his teeth are. He does have a gap between his teeth.
Yep.
I didn't
And
know
he had
that
that-
for the
yeah.
longest time because I never paid attention at the time
It's
until
those
I saw
little
an
friggin'
interview.
details. Well, see, you didn't notice it, but your brain did, kind of thing.
Oh yeah, no. But then that scene afterwards is like when he's, Strom is trying to resuscitate him. Norman just goes into full beast mode and
The
just like, and
formula.
just basically just yeets Strom all the way back into some electrical equipment, and that's
Yeah, it's
the
like
last,
30 yards and he just kills him.
that's
instantly.
the last we see of Strom and everything.
Yeah, nice knowing you. You had a 2-minute roll for 30 grand. So there you go.
F in chat.
Yeah, you got
Oh.
your SAG card,
Oh.
got your SAG insurance, get the hell off my set and whatever.
We don't need you
Can
anymore.
we talk a little bit more about the transition between Norman and Goblin?
Yes, we can.
Because
yeah.
that character difference and the way that he can just flip it
Mhm.
when he needs to it's genius.
Oh yeah, especially the mirror scene when he's actually first introduced to his alter ego Goblin, when he's reading the paper, he's hearing the laughing and everything, and I know this is a few scenes later on, but it's still kind of, continuing on that. He's in his chair, he hears the laughing, which is all in his head, looks at the paper, and then after he finds out that Strom was murdered and everything, and then he looks in the mirror and just, the fact that that's William Dafoe doing all that.
He's just being weird and creepy.
I
It's
know,
creepy.
he's just like, when you see him walking, that's William Dafoe talking into the mirror with his face, and then this switches back to Norman. That whole, switcheroo, like Alex
Yeah,
was
and-
mentioning.
And
was
he
just
has
I'm
the
sure that-
newspaper.
I'm sure that there are plenty of cuts between
yeah,
those
yeah, yeah.
two where
Oh,
you
yeah.
can stay in character as one and then the other. But that scene, like if you just read the dialogue there's almost nothing there. Like I did some work with someone just like to try and read this as to build the character between two people, and even with two people doing the separate parts, to get this tension down and to get the dichotomy, it's really hard, and to put that into one person, I deeply admire it.
I mean,
Which is one of the reasons why the original Goblin makeup and stuff was kind of cast aside too, because of how strong of an actor Dafoe is. It would have lost a lot. I mean, it would have been more blatant that, oh, hey, this creepy ass green bug-eyed fucking thing is Goblin, and then here's Norman as normal Willem Dafoe. But it would have been disrespectful to his capabilities as a performer, as we saw. And I think for that reason alone, it was kind of nice to have it be in the toy suit and stuff. But it still would have been nice to have actually seen maybe towards the end of the movie that shit take over and actually deform him like it does in the comics. But it wasn't necessary
Mhm.
because of what
Like
you're
maybe
saying.
he starts to put on
Or his eyes
that
change.
face
Oh,
or
yeah.
something like
Here
that.
is
Yeah.
so as Brian was mentioning, for those, I'm going to show a bigger picture, but show you guys. That is William Dafoe's original.
Oh,
So
it's-
this look,
Yeah,
this
that-
one was more based off the comics when he's wearing
Yeah.
the purple suit, the purple hat, looks like an actual goblin.
You should see that thing animated. There's actually
Oh,
animated.
I will be finding something on YouTube, and I will be giving credit to the source. But yeah, I remember seeing like the test footage where the mouth is moving, the eyes are,
Yeah.
I mean, you like again, you can see like the different pictures of like the eyes wide open, the mouth, and everything.
That is some creepy stuff, man.
Yeah.
The sharp teeth.
But
like,
I do feel like that would have lost something because the way.
Yeah, see, that's like. But I can imagine. I can see why they went.
Stuff,
I can see why they went with the Power Ranger looking suit because Willem Dafoe would have
toys.
Toys, of course. But Willem Dafoe would have had us like sit in the chair for hours of makeup. Putting that part on, putting the purple weird looking hat on, and then all the hours of like makeup, the yellow eyes, the animatronics. I can see why they went with something that was more.
With that, and it's creepy as shit too, man. It would have kind of killed the vibe.
Oh no, it would have. The movie would have gotten an R rating if that.
But it's also Sam is a horror director, but I'm 100% with Alex though on setting up that as a performer myself to actually get that level of desperation instantly, whether it's in one take or separate, because you got to sit there, and sit pumping, I'm a bad guy, and then all of a sudden have to turn, I'm the sweetest person ever on the planet,
right?
Instantaneously against your fucking self. That's damn near impossible, and that convincingly.
The facial contortions
and
between that, because we've got this nice pleasant Norman Osborn, and then he's just and it's like nowhere. My face doesn't have nearly as many wrinkles as it takes to actually make this thing come to life.
But it's once again, it's all performance. It's all in his face.
And also, Willem Dafoe was a stage actor when he was younger too.
Mm-hmm. But it's just that's the better way to go.
Willem knows this business so well. He just knows what he's doing.
And I think you also start setting up that mental health issue or whatever you want to call it, that he's actually splitting at some point, and one or the other is losing control at any given time. It sets up that kind of stuff, which is why I go back to that whole "I've been a father to you" thing. Would have been even more heartbreaking had Peter seen him, flip on him, or Harry or something like that, and have an outburst, because the Goblin was just, like violently breaking through.
Have but like still, a Bilbo moment.
Kind of, or just snapping out of nowhere, kind of like later on and stuff. Just having that, God damn it, what the hell's wrong with you, Harry? Or quit pissing me off or something while they were there studying or some shit like that.
And you can tell throughout the film, Norman is slowly losing that side. It's the Goblins taking over. I mean, you see it.
And it's still impactful. I'm just thinking if you'd had the characters in there to where it would have impacted even more. But before the dinner scene and all that stuff is what I'm saying. That would have been just like one of those, oh, wow. Okay. This isn't just temporary. This is him slowly going into madness. And that would have changed the pace of that too. But it still works. I mean, you buy it.
And speaking of Norman and the toy, and like Brian was saying about the toys, I actually had the Spider-Man 2002 Green Goblin toy with the glider, where you can take off like you could buy like at Toys R Us at the time.
Okay.
You can it had the glider. You can put Norman on Green Goblin on it. You could take off the Green Goblin's mask and it would show Norman's face and everything. I was that thing was like $20 as a kid at the time or so. I was looking at it recently in the box with Green Goblin with his mask on and the glider, $200.
Yeah. Oh, easy. A lot of those.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, as a kid, that's like $20-30 back then. But nowadays, it's like, well, now I wish I would have kept the damn thing.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
Yeah. No. And then. And then.
So the Norman performance is one thing. A lot of purists and some of the comic book geeks and stuff, and we'll get to it when we actually do the unveiling of the suit. But the Goblin glider and his suit were a sore spot for a lot of us because it was such a departure from his depiction in the comics.
The purple suit and everything.
Well, it's just, after how many years of having them depicted one way, and then Brian and Alex having the animated series as their stepping stone or launching pad rather for it.
Was same for me as well.
Was it jarring for either of you to see him look like that in the Power Ranger suit, or were you still young enough to where Power Ranger's cool and the Goblin in that suit's cool? Yeah, see? That's why they did it.
I grew up on Power Rangers, so I kind of take it seriously. Yeah.
It was Wayne that saw the series. I didn't tend to have cable television.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Alex and Wayne are younger than me, which makes me feel really old. So, thanks, guys.
I'm 29. But yeah,
stopped celebrating my birthday in my mid-40s, so we'll just
you get to that. But yeah, I remember like.
So what I'm saying is like right there, that was a point of contention for a lot of people, but the demographic that Ryan and Alex were at the time, who cares? Because you're still buying into the whole thing. And for me, I didn't really care. I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but dude, it's Spider-Man on the big screen. It's done beautifully. Let's go. So the performance sold that, and it made the stuff that wasn't okay that much more okay, I guess is what I'm getting at. Because I'm without that scene right there as a performer, as an ex-actor and stuff. It's just riveting to see that conventionally pre-CGI. There wasn't that Gollum, back and forth.
No, it was like William Dafoe.
It was him.
And I know I know a handful of people who can actually make their face. I mean, people I've met or seen on TikTok, they can do that, especially when they're wearing makeup, or in real, or even like Jim Carrey's another actor who can, contort his face to. I mean, it's rare, but I can't imagine like the long-term effect it would have on your face.
I pride myself on my faces. Like I'm autistic, so my face is normally flat. So I've taught myself a bunch of expressions, and I really cultivate those faces, but to that level, like
that's what I'm saying.
Fun fact, Alex, you and I have something in common. I'm autistic too.
Yay!
So yeah. See, it's our superpower. We use it for the good of mankind. What's up?
What's up?
Sorry, I just had to throw that out there because
you're fine.
it's something that I do as one of my jobs. So autism I take pretty seriously, but not that it's relevant to Spider-Man because we're talking about Spider-Man for Pete's sake. But it was a great film. Anything else you need to know about my like of the movie? Yeah, never mind.
We'll go further. So jump a few scenes. Peter has, is in bed when he's not feeling well, and it does that,
because he already had a bite.
Yeah, he had the bite.
He's having these images flash in his head.
and then the background voice of that sign, the genetically modified super spider, and then he wakes up. Next thing
all ripped, all
ripped, and his vision, like he takes his glasses off, like, and the POV shot of him like doing this to this.
That was good.
And seeing his perspective was pretty cool. At the time, I didn't understand it. But looking at it now, I was like, Raimi wanted to show the audience, hey, this is what Peter Parker sees now that he,
I mean, Pete, look, you're changing. I know. I went through exactly the same thing at your age. No, not exactly.
So, and the head replacement in the mirror was pretty groundbreaking too. For the time, it was seamless. Because that wasn't Toby in the first shot when he was all sickly looking before he laid down. That was a body double, and they just CGI replaced his head.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow!
And then when he got up in the morning and did this flexy stuff, that was Toby because he was vegetarian at the time.
He was jacked.
Oh,
dude! And then his Aunt May knocks on the door. Peter, are you all right? Yeah, I'm all right. Any change? You feeling better this morning? Any change? Yep.
Yeah, big change. And he just like the fact that he looks down and everything.
And then she says, "Well, hurry up, you're going to be late." Right. And then he looks over at the window next door, and we all know who it is. It's the girl next door. It's Mary Jane
getting ready for school.
Ooh, maybe I should ask her out on a date now that I'm ripped.
I feel more confident now.
But you notice though too, prior to that, and they do mention it later on when she's talking about how much taller he seems to be. If you watch up until that point,
I hunch.
That was later in the movie.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, if you watch prior to his change here, and she mentions it, he was like kind of always slouched down, trying to hide.
Kind of like how
that.
Oh God,
kind of like Superman was in
exactly.
Christopher Reeve Superman.
Yeah,
film.
Thank you. I was just where he's like
retreating.
When he's asking Lois on a date, he's like,
"Yeah, my name is Clark Kent. Do you want to do?"
But then it's like when he goes like this, he's like this, and then he's like.
But it's just interesting that was already set up, and one of those, once again, little subtle details that he was retreating into himself the whole time, and then that transformation fully
basically given a huge confidence boost, and then
that's another way that they bring the actual physicality of the character into the movie in a way that people don't usually look for.
No, I mean
it wasn't really done like that in the comics, by the way.
Really?
The next morning, he was going to school and almost got hit by a car, just stuck to a wall to get out of the way. And he was like, "Oh my God, what
out of the way! I'm sticking
really?
to the wall."
Yeah,
I mean,
that's it. Yeah, that's all it was.
I mean, we see him as soon as he's coming. He comes downstairs. And
that was in the '67 animated show, and it was also reinterpreted again in the '94 animated series. He just jumps away from a car.
Yeah,
that's all it was. Yeah, that was his big. Oh my God, moment. Otherwise,
didn't they reference that in Spider-Verse as well when he's reading the comic?
Yep, that's exactly what had happened initially.
He just jumps away from a moving car, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sticking to the wall. How did this happen?"
Oh, that's right.
That's
Stop
why
sticking.
this
Oh my
was
God.
such a great way to show the physical changes, the personality changes, the the confidence level, all that stuff. And once again, just in performance, nobody said shit. He's just taking off, looking at himself. There's slight dialogue, but then the standing up straight, all that kind of stuff. It's just all in the performance. Very, very well done. And I prefer it.
I want to make a note here because it's come to my attention in recent years for some reason that Spider-Man is something of like a transmasculine icon. Partially because of how this impacts the character. Like that's the dream for a lot of us.
Here comes one of Brian's reference books.
Well, no, what I was going to say, one of the biggest things, and Stan said it and everybody else said it, and they were even talking about it way back in the day when Ditko and Kirby and all that were developing the book. You put that on, anybody's behind there.
Yeah, I remember that, seen a bunch of like quote unquote Marvel fans.
They've referenced that in Into the Spider-Verse where Stan Lee makes a cameo.
That's what
anybody can be Spider-Man.
And that's the idea. It's
sooner or later,
been that way since the inception.
Sooner or later, the suit always fits. Also, no returns.
Oh yeah, I mean,
you're
Alex. You're quote unquote.
It's in the movie, man.
Your quote unquote Marvel. Your quote unquote Marvel fanboys will say, and your stereotypical Marvel fanboys will say, only Peter Parker's Spider-Man. A woman can't be,
But to touch on what Alex is saying, the reason why, again, it's a testament to the popularity and just the appeal of the character. He has problems. He's not rich. He's worried about paying the damn rent, electric bill, stuff like that.
He's an outsider.
He's an outsider.
Like you or me.
And he's a kid.
Which is the biggest thing.
I mean, Steve Ditko and Stan Lee based him on just your average person.
Yeah.
Ordinary teenager.
That had never happened prior to that. So he appeals broadly for multiple reasons, no matter race, gender, preference, who cares, identity, all
which
that
is
stuff.
why he's been the most popular character in Marvel history
over the past 60
years now, which is crazy, Brian. 60 years is crazy.
Insane. But that's what, like when I was saying that about being appealing across the board, that's why. And that's why this movie with that introduction and all that kind of stuff just lends itself further to the appeal of this character, and why you guys, not ever having read the comics, watching the series, or only being introduced by this movie, are all on board instantly.
Oh yeah,
that's what I mean. You could have never had any frame of reference. I mean, it's been in the cultural zeitgeist for that long. Never had any other frame of reference for this character. Watch the movie as your first introduction, like you said, was for you out, and you're on board right off the bat. Why? Because of how appealing that character is. Because anybody can be behind that mask, and he's like me. I have that problem. And they portray that very well, because once again, this is a creative who was a fan making a good movie.
I mean, you can tell Sam Raimi was a huge fan.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
he said it in interviews when the movie was like coming. It's like, I was a fan of this character for the longest time, and now I get to make a movie about it. And it's one of the greatest things I've ever done.
It shows.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely shows. And again, one of my favorite scenes after that is when Peter does that the Prince of Persia Wolverine down the stairs.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, just like surprises. Now that was
goodness me. I thought you were sick. I feel better.
I got better.
You haven't eaten anything. Have you got your lunch money? Yeah, hey, Michelangelo, don't forget we're painting the kitchen right after school. Got it. Sure thing, Uncle Ben. Don't start without me. Don't start up with me.
Oh man.
Sorry, Wayne. That's what I'm here for.
No, I know. I'm glad.
Saves me for having to do it. So that's
no. That's the one thing during, especially ever since this whole pre-MCU podcast review thing started. Like, it's nothing but a lot of movie quotes, and that's the one thing I love.
I can't help it. I can't.
You're fine.
One of the greatest things about having autism is that I'm able to remember lines from movies so well that I can quote it back to you word for word. See, Alex, there are positives about having autism, ladies and gentlemen.
No, I completely believe you. I wish I still had that memory. I used to be able to just spit stuff out word for word, punctuation for punctuation.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. It's gone now because other stuff got in the way, but I have other hyper focuses now.
Right.
Okay. I can respect that. I can respect that.
Spider sense.
Spidey senses. Yeah, Alex's Spidey senses.
Or the tickle, whatever you want to call it, depending on what.
But the Peter tingle.
Hey, Aunt May, we don't talk about that.
Depending on what.
By the way, how funny is it now when you see him on the roof when he finds out that he has these weird abilities and he's trying to figure out how to shoot the webs out? Go web. Fly.
Yeah.
Shazam.
And he says Shazam.
He says Shazam.
Fly! Up, up, and away, Webb! Shazam! Go! Go! Go, Webb, go!
Yeah.
Which
I think is funny.
We'll get to that part.
Really, Wayne? We're still in the first 10 minutes of this movie. We're going to be here for 6 hours, man.
No.
You say that like
You
it's a bad thing.
You realize it's almost midnight. Well, it's 10:15 where I am, but whatever.
So the next, one of the other things I want to talk about, since you were talking about how he was sticking to a wall of a vehicle, is when he's chasing the bus, like stop the bus, and the next thing you know, the whole like banner paper just
sign comes off of his freaking hand. He rips it off and he notices his hand is like getting a little sticky, icky, manicky. And then he goes to school and then he does this crazy trick, which I heard took about like 50, 60 takes for him. To
which was an actual effect. No CGI or anything.
That was an actual effect?
Yes.
That was real,
like
Alex.
Wait, did you put magnets on the food?
No, it was all, well, maybe, but the whole catching them in order like
was
that
practical.
was all Toby doing it. Yeah, it was all practical.
Sam Raimi,
Sam 50 or 60 takes.
Sam Raimi wanted to go as practical as he could with this film.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to stuff like that. And then
By
my favorite scene.
What, the lunch tray?
The lunch, yes, the lunch tray was like they're just like
yeah, just dragging it.
And then Flash like,
but see right there, never mind the whole comics logic or real world logic and stuff that nobody puts two and two together ever, Batman, anybody, whatever. And that just goes to show that nobody gives a shit about what this kid's doing. He's a target. He's easily disregarded. He, like as Ryan said earlier, he's an outsider. So this dude's walking around with a tray dragging behind him for what? Who knows? There's weirdo Peter. Who gives a shit what that idiot's doing? And then it makes that slamming noise in the door as he's trying to walk out. Yeah, it's just yeah. But I'm just saying,
that scene is.
But they noticed him when he threw the food at Flash, even though it wasn't his food, and there was no way that he could have gotten to that
out of character, out of type. He actually did something noteworthy to them. There we go. That's showing his progression. Well, not that it was intentional, but still, that whole progression of he's changing, either intentionally or unintentionally, which is the bigger thing right there. All these changes were forced upon him. That's the whole crux of this character anyway.
He's slowly learning, in a sense.
Yeah. So
I don't want to fight you, Flash. I
wouldn't want to fight me neither. When you're fists breaking your teeth, that's the accident.
Harry, help him.
But,
which one?
Because MJ says, "Come on, Flash, stop. This is and they're like, help him, Harry. Which one?
That whole hallway fight scene, even when the spider sense is going off, it's still him adjusting.
The slow motion with the fly and
it's fantastic.
The look on his face is like the fist is going by is like, what the heck?
Yeah.
How is this even working right now?
Yeah, because all the stuff leading up to it, the fly, the spit wad, all that kind of stuff.
And then Flash is like,
but the idea there is, and it was intended to be, that his spider sense is going off, but he has no mental connection to it just yet. So what is the threat? He's his whole spider.
Is it the fly? Is it the spitball? And like, oh shit, there's a fist coming at me. I better like do like some kind of Matrix move.
Once again, no dialogue, no anything other than just performance, and we got it right there in your face. It was just fantastically done. I've always thought that was a great way to introduce that, as opposed to the little like wavy lines and shit like that or whatever, or just like the blurred vision. That was a great way to do it.
You all good, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm just chillaxing back here.
Are you sure you don't need to like?
No. I'm just messing with you. I'm fine.
Okay. Hey, just like, because these can't go on for like almost 2 hours.
No, I'm cool with 2 hours. Anything more than two, then we got issues.
Just checking.
I saw my exclusivity contract.
I saw the signs of the. So
I'm just goofing around.
All right.
So
forget about me. I'm nothing. I've barely gotten worded because apparently Brian and Alex know more about this than I do. So I have really no. What's the expression that they use in another movie? I have no responsibilities here whatsoever. So I really don't even know why I'm here.
Making sure. I keep these at least 2 hours, and then I split.
No, it's fine.
When it comes to editing, I split them into two parts because it's.
Nope, it's fine.
All right, just making sure.
I'm good. Everything's fine. I'm just happy to talk about Spider-Man.
It's going to be like 2 hours in the first 30 minutes of this movie.
All right,
because there's so much stuff. It's such a good film,
the X-Men 2 podcast review I had was the first time I ever had to split into two because there was a lot to talk about. Anyway, Fast forward.
Anyway, that's not what we're relevant here tonight. We're talking about Spider-Man, not X-Men.
Like Peter discovers that after the whole organic web fluid thing, he sees the little spider legs come out of his fingers. He's doing the climbing thing, and the next thing you know, he's like,
great music too. That soundtrack,
which
dun 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 dun. You know, that was just.
Which is ironic to me that Danny Elfman would compose the greatest theme for Batman, and then he does it again with Spider-Man. It's like,
that was Danny Elfman
stuff.
Oh yeah,
oh
yeah.
It's all Danny Elfman. It's just Danny Elfman.
It's always Danny Elfman.
Wow.
Until they had their falling out and all that stuff.
And then he does, the jumping over the buildings, and then he's like.
And then underneath Danny Elfman is everyone that Danny Elfman sampled from, but
just a little bit.
That discovery there with the cilia coming out of his hands and stuff and everything, which I actually don't know if it's to be cilia or not, but anyway, the hairs, the spiky stuff. There's your explanation for why you can stick to walls that the comics never really touched on. It was a great way for a comic fan to explain this stuff that's been bugging him for a long time, and it makes sense. It's grounding it in a real world setting, which most of the superhero films don't really bother to do, or do it so hyper real that looks okay. It's a mixed future and past and stuff. The 89 Batman was victim to that. That this one, once again,
Batman.
But I'm just saying, they never really kind of seem to get any of it right. But this one kind of did. You're taking the genetic modification end of it instead of radioactivity. You're taking, the explanation for why you can stick to walls. And that was a great reveal for that. And then him running across the rooftops and stuff. It's like, okay, yeah, I'd do the same damn thing. If I knew I could jump 30 feet straight up, catch me.
And then it comes.
I'm flying, Jack.
And then
yeah.
And it comes to probably the best part when he finally he's doing all the weird hand gesture things. Go web, go up and away web.
Yeah, exactly.
Shazam! Fly.
Exactly.
And then he's like, and it's just basically,
go web, go. Yeah.
And it's like. But that scene afterwards, he's swinging. He doesn't know how to stop. He just basically face bumps right into a billboard.
Oh, that was great. And then just that.
Yeah.
So, fast. And then he disappoints his uncle by not coming home in time to paint the kitchen. The meatloaf and veggies are in the oven, which it says on the note. Like I said, I know how to quote movies better than anyone. And then he comes outside to throw the trash out. And then he hears an overbearing father yelling at some girl named MJ. MJ comes out and says, "Were you listening to that?" No, I heard, but I was just taking out the trash. I guess you could always hear us.
I didn't hear no yelling.
Well, Wayne, everybody shouts. Your aunt and uncle don't. Well, they can yell pretty good sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, Wayne, MJ, about today in school with Flash, you really freaked us out. I'm sorry. Is he okay? He's just happy you didn't give him a black eye for graduation.
Yeah. Then they split up, and he throws his ring at her, and it's over. Blah blah.
Oh, great! We're fast forwarding the movie. Great, fast forwarding. Great. I don't feel like quoting 2 hours of footage.
Yeah, no, because I'm
here for that though, man.
We know you could.
I'm trying to.
Good, Alex.
I just wanted to flash forward. So I will say, because I don't want to talk about the entire plot, because
please don't. Please don't.
I do want to say I do love the fact that Sam Raimi brought in Bruce Campbell as a cameo.
Dude.
The
his
human
cameos
spider. and Macho Man Randy Savage as Bones.
Bones
already. I got you in for 3 minutes.
Bones
3 minutes of screen time. That's a lovely dress.
Thing
Is
with
your
Bruce
husband
Campbell,
naked for you?
Since you brought him up, one of the unfortunate lost plot lines that was supposed to culminate in either the third or fourth film and had Raimi been able to make it was Mysterio.
Yep.
That's why he shows up all over the films.
Yeah, I remember that was going to be a thing for his fourth film, which again never happened.
Or
I would have liked to. I would have liked to have seen Bruce Campbell as Mysterio. I would have loved that.
We would get Jake Gyllenhaal later for Sony.
Yeah, we don't talk about that. About that. No, he's not Mysterio. He never.
Yeah, I do remember hearing something about how Bruce Campbell was supposed to be Mysterio, which I think would have been perfect.
Dude,
also a little fun fact.
So good.
Bruce Campbell is the tutorial narrator in the 2002 PS2 Spider-Man video game.
Well, Xbox One also, which is the better one. Not Xbox One, but the Xbox.
Shots
Xbox
fired.
PS2.
But yeah, Bruce Campbell was the narrator, and also speaking of video game, which Brian mentioned how later on, if we were going to get how he was, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, Bruce Campbell best, and then he gives, instead of
3
going
minutes in the cage with Bonesaw McGraw, the sum of 3. No, what's your name, kid? The Human Spider. The Human Spider. That's it. That's the best you got. Yeah. Oh, that sucks.
So it was thanks to Mysterio.
Good.
It was thanks to Mysterio that he actually gave him,
his actual
Spider-Man,
name,
which
the
like,
terrifying, the
which-
deadly, the amazing Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's
it
great.
all works. It's great, and it's also a better introduction of that
Mhm.
version of Peter than what we got in the original comics, where he was just being a
Oh,
TV
yeah.
strong man with the bag head thing and all that stuff. And well, actually,
Yeah.
he shot webs on his face, and that's what he appeared on TV.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean,
no,
Alex, if we
you know-
walked out to the ring and we were called the Human Spider, we'd be like, I don't know if that's exactly the right name for us.
Well,
I don't
that's
know.
the thing, is that he's just some dude. He's not a PR
he's not the-
guy.
No,
Like,
he's
of
not the
course,
smartest guy
the
in the
first
room.
name that he comes up with on the spot is going to be terrible.
the Human
And
Spider.
of course, the announcer who does this for a living is going
Sure.
to
That's
spin
it. That's
it
the best
so
you
that
got.
it sounds good.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it all
sucks.
works.
And I also do say I do love his homemade suit, which is the red balaclavas, red
Yeah.
sweater, blue sweatpants.
It was a
white-
hoodie. It was a
The high
hoodie.
tops,
Yeah.
the hoodie. Yeah,
I'm just
and then
like
the-
this.
the-
The concept suit, as I call it,
Yeah.
is
The
like,
concept.
which is pretty cool. Which we're fast forward to again.
I like the concept suit.
Oh no, it was great.
Yeah.
And
Oh, it's awesome.
then, if I'm not mistaken, when it shows Uncle Ben dying, because I do want to fast forward again.
Wait a minute, Uncle Ben
Spoilers.
dies in this?
What
Yeah,
the
right.
hell?
If I'm not
Wait a
mistaken,
minute.
the first
Wait a
time.
minute. Uncle Ben's not supposed to die.
Well, and I found out when I was doing Spider-Man gameplay for the PS4, because I like throwing fun facts. I found out that Uncle he was actually introduced as Ben Parker in Strange Tales number 97 and 62, and then a few months later he was introduced as Uncle Ben in the Amazing number 15, which came out in August of 1962, and apparently he was modeled after American founding father Benjamin Franklin.
Okay.
I didn't
Didn't
know
know
that,
that.
and apparently
Interesting.
and I could be wrong. I guess the first time we're introduced to him is also the last time, because I know,
He kind of dies.
yeah, he
Little bit.
Stanley kills him off in a Spider-Man video game. During a Stanley cameo, he's saying, "I'm sorry, what happened to your Uncle Ben?" To Peter Parker, because I guess
Weird.
Stanley and Steve Ditko killed him off.
But depending on which lore, and once again, with all the different stuff going on, there's always going to be that catalyst. And now that you've got so many different variations and everything,
Are you telling me that comics often reboot their canon?
oh, all the time.
No,
I don't know. I know it's a shock. I
I have
wasn't-
never heard this
I
before.
wasn't going to say anything, but it had to be said at this point, because no matter what it is, there's always got to be that impetus for him doing that. Much like with Batman and all that. But
And Batman.
yeah.
Yeah.
This
Batman
the
Day
setup-
was a few days ago.
the-
It was, wasn't it?
It was.
besides-
True story.
Besides the weird thing that nobody notices, that kids shoot webs and shit again and all that kind of stuff, and being overly strong, and once again you got to suspend all that.
Suspend disbelief.
Suspend it.
It's called
the-
suspend disbelief, Alex.
the setup.
Yeah, it's also called suspending Peter Parker from the top of the cage.
Oh yeah, exactly. By something that just came out
Hey.
of nowhere.
what address
This is
does your
some kind of a
husband make it
mistake.
for you?
Yeah, exactly.
I
It's
didn't
great.
sign up for a cage match.
But
Yeah.
the setup, the character setup there with him, and and homeboy Robin, the wrestling guys and stuff, was really well done, even more so than it was in the comics, because
And it was Randy Savage. You can't say no to Randy Savage.
No.
You just
But
can't.
I'm just talking about what when it seems like I don't see the part about that it's my problem and all that. It was fantastic because
That
in
was
the
a
Oh,
comic-
good
yeah.
character moment.
because
That
yes,
was.
it was because in the comic he was just like, if I'm not going to get paid, because he was a showman, he was on TV, doing
Right,
the
at the time.
strongman stuff, and
At
just
the
kind of
time,
took
yeah.
a step back. He was like, no, I get paid to be a strongman or a hero. If you're not going to pay me for that, then I'm walking out. He didn't have that sense of self-confidence and all that. Like the guy was like, oh, that's not my problem. Well, goddamn, you're going to screw me. Well, then screw you, because now I can. It's that self-confidence thing, and it backfires. You
Mhm.
got to know your limits. You have to be able to work within your means, or however you want to look at it. And drastic difference, same message, and I prefer the movie version infinitely more so for that reason, because it didn't make him come off as a cocky dick, and just not, once again, he's finding himself. We get to see what happens when you become too overconfident, or you're not, realizing that the whole world's out to get you, that there are bad people. However you want to look at it, it was just a great character moment across the board for him. And then there's consequences to your actions, and that's great. So, like I said before, the impetus for him becoming what he becomes, no matter how they did it. And then this was just one of the best ways I've seen done in almost all media.
And in order
Uncle Ben, and then
he
starts crying.
And in order to avenge his Uncle Ben, he goes after the guy who quote unquote shot him. Found out. And that was technically Spider-Man Peter Parker's first accidental kill, because the robber slash killer is like afraid, like, what the hell are you, who are you, kind of thing, and then
he just falls off.
Falls backward, and that's
falls backwards onto the deck of like near the marina or something like that.
See, but that's all character development there too. That's done exceptionally well, as opposed to.
And that's why Peter Parker, just like Batman, has that no kill rule.
Just give me a chance. Just give me a chance. What about my uncle? Did you give him a chance? Did you?
And
that whole exchange is I already said it's a great character moment, but like
pissed off,
he was pissed.
Seeing that immediate decision, consequence, and then seeing how that whole thing played out is I just think it was really well done to condense all of that into one sequence, so you can see the thought process.
This is the thing I admire about movies. If you only have 2 hours, you have a lot in your mind in the beginning that you want to put in, but at the same time you can't, because you have to make the movie watchable.
I'm sure if Sam Raimi had
general audiences need to understand what's going on. So the fact that he was able to make this movie the way that he did, Sam Raimi I'm talking about now, with regards to the runtime and how he gets like some of the important beats of the character in certain moments and still make it like understandable for like general audiences who've never touched a comic book or never watched a Spider-Man animated. I grew up on the 90s show, but I also remember seeing reruns of the 67 animated series and the 87 Spider-Man His Amazing Friends. So like you see all that, but then when you see it played out in film, it's like, oh, they're hitting the beats I remember from other iterations of the character. This is good. This makes me understand it as someone who grew up on certain elements of the property. But for the average, everyday person who's never touched a book in their life or never watched an animated show, it's like, oh, so this is how he becomes the hero. This is why he gets so angry, because this guy took his uncle's life. So all the beats are being followed, and I'm like, Sam Raimi, you're bringing back memories of my childhood, because the animated series is in the back of my mind, and it just makes a lot of sense.
Without that obligatory exposition dump, without 30 minutes of build up, without 11 issue crossovers, all that kind of stuff.
You got to do it in 2 hours.
And it done in 2 hours. Well, that very paramount event in his life is done very quickly at a nice even pace. Like you're saying, it's beautifully done, because you've got to expand, take this and contract it into that. How are you going to do that and still hit your beats? That's how you do it.
As you were saying, Alex?
That's a major strength of this particular adaptation, because adapting something, you brought out the book of Spider-Man earlier. You can't show all of the nuances in one movie, even if you're just taking a small section of that story. And like sometimes it creates some plot holes, like with the Norman being a father thing. But if you can convey all of that emotion and make the audience understand it using your chosen medium, that's well done.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.